What is auto-enrollment? Auto-enrollment is a government scheme that's going to be introduced, we believe, on the 1st of September 2024, where all employees of companies will be mandated into a pension if they're over the age of 23 and if they're earning over 20,000 a year, where a company will have to pay into a pension for them, not just offer them the facility which currently is in play. It was talked about over 5 years ago, but it seems very clear it's going to be no later than the 1st of September 2024. I'm a big advocate for not allowing yourself to be auto-enrolled. It's not an attractive scheme, and I'm going to explain to you why in more detail. You'll be automatically involved in a scheme if you're earning over 20,000 a year. It is mandatory for the company to enroll you. And if they don't, there's severe penalties and possible imprisonment for employers. So you can see how seriously the government are taking this. And there will be a cap on the contribution rate. For every €3 that the employee puts in, the government will add one, which effectively equates to 25% of a top up. And the employer will have to meet the employee's contribution capped at a certain percentage. Auto-enrollment does have some advantages, particularly from the employer's perspective, in that it is forcing companies to pay into a pension scheme, and therefore it's giving them the opportunity to maybe attract new staff. Well, specifically, you can see on the chart here that for the first 3 years, it will be set at specific figures of 1.5% of the employee's salary, 1.5% paid by the employer, 1.5 by the employee. So there is a mandatory payment from the employee. And then every 3 years, it's going to increase by 1.5%. Now, to me, that can be a positive, but also a negative. It does force employees to pay more money every 3 years, and potentially, 9 years from now, you're looking at a percentage of 6% of your salary. Whether or not you want to pay into that or not, if you're in an auto-enrolled scheme, you will have to. This is an illustration for someone earning 40,000 a year. They will get tax relief, as I say, in terms of the 25%, but it's done automatically, so it doesn't actually work in the same way that company pensions operate, which is one of the major disadvantages. And then you can see, obviously, what those amounts go up by every 3 years. So potentially for someone earning 40,000 a year, 10 years from now, they will pay in 2,400 of their salary into the pension. The company will meet that payment, and the government add in a further €800 per year. So why am I against auto-enrollment? If you're an employee and if the company is not paying into the pension, you will be auto-enrolled and you have no ability to pay additional monies into your scheme. You cannot pay more than the 1.5%, and neither can the employer. And it's fixed. The other disadvantage is if you are earning over 42,000 a year, i.e. on the higher rate of tax, which is relevant from January 2024, you're only getting a 25% benefit. Whereas if you pay into a pension scheme in a company pension arrangement, which I am advocating, you will get 40% tax relief. So you're missing out on 15% relief. And there's about 200,000 workers that are in that category of higher tax rate payers with no company pension scheme. It's massive, obviously, opportunity for those people not to be auto-enrolled. One of the other major disadvantages to auto-enrollment is that you can only access the scheme from the state pension age. So typically, currently, that's 66 years of age. That's not going to be as useful as a company pension arrangement where if you leave the company, say, at any stage from the age of 50 onwards, there's a company that has 10 employees. So this is my own company, Alpha Wealth. We have 10 employees. This is not the salary count, but just to give you an example of salaries ranging from, say, 30,000 up to 50,000, just taken as a rough scale. You can see there the cost of auto-enrollment to that business will be about €6,500 in the first year. In the fourth year, when auto-enrollment goes up to 3%, that cost will go up to about 13,000 a year. In 6 years, it'll be 19,000, and 9 years, 26,000 a year. So it's a fairly significant cost to that business. the total amount over those 10 years will amount to about €144,000. However, if you set up a company pension scheme before the 1st of September, which is exactly what I'm advocating these companies will do, you can set the rate. You could set it at 1%, for example, which would only cost you $4,300 in that year. You may set it at the 1.5% level and cost $6,500, but you don't have to increase it every 3 years. And I've done on the right-hand side just a quick summary of the total saving over those same 10 years. You can see it amounts to a significant figure, somewhere between 80 and 100,000 a year. You might be wondering, okay, well, if you don't want to be a member of the scheme, can you do anything to get out of it? And what the government have decided is that you have to be a member for the first 6 months. And after 6 months, you can opt out and get a refund of the contributions since the start. But after 2 years, they will re-enter you into the scheme. And then 6 months after that, you may opt out again, and so on and so forth.